Subject what we are going to present is Raspberry Pi. My name is Park Jun-hyung and my partner is Park Jong-hoon. We separated the parts of presentation. As you can see, we will explain the Raspberry Pi and then compare between Arduino and Raspberry Pi. After that, my partner will introduce practical examples about our subject. Finally, he will show that the positive and negative attributes. We report this site. First, what is Raspberry Pi? The Raspberry Pi is a low-cost, credit card-sized computer. It is capable little device that enable people all over age to explore computing and to learning how to program. Raspberry Pi is used to run programs and understand how computers work. As you can see, this Raspberry Pi is Model B. The other version, Model A, is lower class than Model B. So in this time, we are going to deal with Model B. Also, Raspberry Pi has a specification like PC, operating system, CPU, memory. Considering this credit card size, these all specifications are enough to compare with personal computer. We separated this model as 10 parts. First, in the edge of board, there are 8 GPIOs. You might be find same things in your desktop mainboard. Then what is GPIO means? GPIO is short for general purpose input output. Connecting GPIO and software, you can control some device which is given electric input or output. Second is display serial interface. It defines a serial bus and a communication protocol between the hosts and the device. It is commonly targeted at LCD and similar display technology. Next is composite video-based band signal. Behind the TV, you can find 3-port, yellow, red, and white. This is the same thing. This is audio jack. You can listen or sound by connecting external device. Next. It has also USB port. This is Ethernet port. You can transfer some data through this Ethernet. JTAG is a debugging device for testing the system. This is also widely used. Next is CSI port. You can use the camera connecting this port. Using HDMI, you can send images or sounds. Finally, you can connect micro USB to activate. This micro USB is well known as a smartphone charger standard. This block diagram of the Model B is expressing the procedure in Raspberry Pi. Lots of parts resembles PC procedures. This is visual diagram of API connection. API is application programming interface. This is specifies how some software components should interact with each other. The GPU hardware is accessed through the firmware image, which is loaded into the GPU at boot time from the SD card. The firmware image is known as the binary block, while the associated ARM code Unix driver were initially closed source. Much of the actual driver work is done using the closed source GPU code. Application software use cores to closed source runtime library. like OpenMax, OpenGL, yes, or OpenVG, which in turn calls an open source driver inside the Linux kernel, which then calls the closed-source video core for GPU driver code. The API of kernel driver is specific for this closed library. Video application use OpenMax. 3D application use OpenGL, and 2D application use OpenVG, with both in turn use EGL. Raspbian is a Debian-based free operating system optimized for the Raspberry Pi hardware. It is the current recommended system. It is free software and maintained independently of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. It is based on ARM Hardflow Debian 7 with the architecture port with the LXD desktop environment. It provides some available Debian software packaging, precompiled software bundles. My partner will be next part.
Last time we heard about Arduino, and today we speak about Raspberry Pi. What differences between Arduino and Raspberry Pi? Arduino and Raspberry Pi look similar, but there is some differences. First, Arduino is suited for the hardware, but Raspberry Pi is suited for software. And Arduino has 14 digital and 6 analog I/O pins, but Raspberry Pi has 8 digital I/O pins. And Arduino has no audio and video out, but Pi has. And Arduino has no RAM port, but Pi has. How to use Raspberry Pi? There is so many ways, but I will introduce 5 ways to use. First, we can use Pi can use electronic circuit and control machine like Arduino. So Pi can control machine like RC car, quadcopter, and turn on or turn out the light. Pi is complex size computer. Pi is a complex size computer. Using this feature, some people try to make Raspberry Pi to wearable computer. Google Glass is good wearable computer, but so expensive. Google Glass is $1,500. But you can make this about $100. Of course, Pi didn't optimize for wearable computer, not yet, but I want to say it has possibility and it can be better. You can make media center using XBMC and Raspberry Pi. Media center means device or program that make more suitable for media. Apple TV is one of them. Pi has good spec for media center, almost same with Apple TV third generation. Pi has 700 MHz CPU and 500 12 megabyte RAM and support HD video and sound and 3D video. But Apple TV is expensive. Apple TV is $99. You can make server using APM. APM means Apache plus PHP plus MySQL. After install APM, you can use Pi as the web server, and if you install on cloud, then you can use Pi as your own cloud server, and if you install sub version, and then you can set up SVN for your team project. Computational engineer at the University of Southampton have built a supercomputer from 64 Raspberry Pi computers using almost $4,000. That team make a system with 11 gigahertz of processing power and 1 terabyte memory. This is pros and cons of Raspberry Pi. First, pros is amazingly inexpensive and outstanding for educational purpose, and strong community support and compact design, and support multiple operating systems. But cons, potentially challenging setup and demanding knowledge of Linux and raw processing power, no flashing support on Debian, Squid, Rex, integrated Wi-Fi. Any question?
Thank you.